Trails Advisory Committee meeting. And we're going to call the meeting to order. Meeting's in order. We're going to do a roll call. We'll start with you, Linda.
I'm here.
Linda's here.
Jan Diamantine here.
Rick Barnett here.
Jason Rush here.
Brian Danner here.
Dave Workman from council here.
Okay. And so first piece we're going to do is, Brian, we're going to put you right to work, introducing yourself and a little bit about why the committee is, why you were somebody we would look for the committee and why you're somebody that would agree to do it.
Okay. I saw the ad on, I think it was Facebook. There was an ad for a position on a Trails, Parks and Trees committee, and my prior experiences with trails, I belong to a group in Corvallis called Team Dirt, and we build mountain bike trails, and in conjunction with OSU, the Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service, and it's kind of fun, but I mean, that's 30 miles drive. And then when I saw this, and I thought, oh, local. And so I applied for it, and I've been a resident in Lebanon since '74. I'm retired, and I live close to the trails. I know Jan, my wife runs with her, and then I know Rod from the Sandy Am Spokes, and I'm an avid cyclist. I do all disciplines basically. I'm a road biker, I'm a mountain biker, I'm a gravel rider. I don't have an e-bike yet. I'm putting that off for another 4 or 5 years. And so that's, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, thank you, Brian. Okay. Glad to have you here. Welcome. I'm sure we'll be able to use your skills along. Everybody has different skills and it works out really well. So, okay, I see some Oregon Department of Forestry people, and I see that the next thing on the agenda is an ODF presentation. So I'm not sure who is going to start. Is it going to be somebody online or the guy in the room? Okay.
There we go. Hi, all. I'm Evan Elderbrock. I'm a community assistance forester with the Oregon Department of Forestry in the Urban and Community Forestry program. And I'm joined today by my colleague Allison O'Sullivan online, also a community assistance forester, and then Jim Gersbach, who does work for ODF but is here in his capacity as the president of the board for Oregon Community Trees, which is a statewide nonprofit that Jim can tell you a little bit more about. They act as the advisory council for the Oregon Department of Forestry's Urban and Community Forestry program. They run a statewide conference every year on urban and community forestry, and they provide services to communities around the state in terms of technical support and educational support related to trees and urban forest planning. So I'm here in person to help answer some questions as they come up. Allison and I are the regional representatives from our team for Lebanon, and so if you all want to work with us on tree ordinance updates, tree list, recommended tree list, prohibited tree lists, and anything else, urban forestry or trees, planting workshops, things like that, we can be your go-to folks for that. But today, Jim's going to be giving a presentation for the most part on a topic I think he was in discussion with Linda about related to tree lists and opportunities for maybe an updated tree list with some new recommendations. And so yeah, I think without further ado, I'll pass it over to Jim. Thanks for your time, all.
Thanks, Evan. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to share a PowerPoint presentation with y'all, but what I understand from Allison and Evan is that this committee was looking at the a kind of an existing approved tree list for Lebanon, and what we were uh, trying to get some input on that list, that existing list, and how that list might be updated to reflect some uh, more current concerns, broader concerns about the adequacy of that list in terms of making the trees that are approved to be planted in Lebanon more resilient to some of the challenges we're facing in Oregon's urban forests today, like pests. Uh,
Oh, we lost you for a second. It went
You
off.
must have
So I
hit
don't know
your
if you.
mute button,
yeah,
Tim.
accidentally. I was using my hands to talk. So, an example of a pest challenge that we're facing now is emerald ash borer, which has been spreading in Northwest Oregon, and will is in Marion County and is soon to probably be spreading into Linn County here in the next short while. So, uh, near 100% fatalities to trees in the Fraxinus or the ash genus. But there's other pests that can attack and kill trees. There are many diseases, sudden oak death in Southwest Oregon, potentially Phytophthora water mold that can attack and kill trees of a wide variety. And then also increasing droughts and high temperatures can also make some of the trees that we've relied on very heavily in the past become more uh, ill-suited for our climates. So with a broader palette of trees to choose from, and this is just a general thing that we advise all communities, is that the greater the diversity of tree choices that you have and that you plant, the more resilient your forest is going to be from any one of those challenges when they come to pass. So what you're trying to do with a tree is to not only get trees that are going to be suitable for the planting strip widths and any limitations like overhead power lines. You certainly don't want to plant the tall trees under power lines. You want to have trees that will mature without having to be topped to fit under those power lines. Those are all important limitations on what you can plant where. But to the degree that you can plant as many different species as possible that are suitable for your climate and your soils, you are ensuring that you're not going to have catastrophic losses. And we've seen from past experience in the 20th century when Dutch elm disease, the American elm was considered the go-to tree for most communities. Cities planted them by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of trees. For example, in Milwaukee, I think they estimated they had 100,000 street trees. Entire neighborhoods would be planted with these trees. So that over reliance on one species meant that when Dutch elm disease arrived, it went through those communities like wildfire and wiped out an entire canopy almost overnight or within a very short period of time. So the impacts can be quite severe. So with that in mind, that's how we looked at the existing Lebanon tree approved list. Um, what I so just a couple of quick responses to seeing that list is that there were some good choices on that list of some trees, like I believe you had the emmer cork tree, which is an unusual underplanted tree, not widely planted, that's in a family that's not overplanted in the Northwest. Um, but there were a lot of trees. In fact, all of the trees appeared to be trees that would grow under 30 feet. Even though you have strips that I'm presuming that are wider than that. And that would mean that if all the trees on the list mature at a height below 30 feet, you're basically not ever going to get the large, tall trees that cast the most shade, and that has the most cooling benefit. If you get a tree that's going to mature at, say, 40, 50, 60, or higher feet tall, those are going to have the biggest bang for the buck in terms of the amount of shade, which is cooling, as well as the most air pollution capture. A lot of studies have shown that there's a much greater uh, ability of a tree to capture pollutants on the leaf surfaces when they're a large tree compared to, say, a small tree that's only 20 or 30 feet tall at maturity. So if you want to maximize the benefits, it would be helpful in your looking at your approved tree list to say where there are strips without overhead power lines and where the root zone or the planting width from curb to sidewalk is at least 4 to 6 or 8 feet wide, where there's room for those larger trees, that you want to make sure that you are planting those trees, or that the homeowners and the community members are planting those trees, are choosing from a list that has that larger tree form as the selected choice. So still choice within that large strip, but those choices should be limited to the larger trees that do well in those strips and that provide the most bang for the community, if that makes sense. So for an example, a native to the Lynn County would be the Oregon white oak. It is a tree that can reach over 70 feet tall. Depends on how it's grown. It can be an open, widespread tree, or it can be a little more upright if it's in competition with other trees. But it's a tree that can live hundreds of years. It's a tree that has many associations with wildlife benefits for mammals, birds, insects depend on this tree. And that would be a great choice, for example, that would do well in our climate. It's very resilient, adaptable kind of tree for areas that do not have overhead power lines, where it can grow to its full height without the need to be pruned by the utility companies. So those would be areas of potential gain for Lebanon to be able to look at the uh, larger number of species that could be found in that larger group. And some of the trees that are in that under 30 that you have in an existing list also raise some questions in terms of their long-term cost of maintenance. So, for example, cherry trees are uh, popular among a lot of homeowners because they have beautiful flowers, nice fall color. But cherries tend to be a short-lived tree. They tend to have a lot of diseases that can impact them. And they also have very shallow root systems that even in fairly wide strips, they can raise sidewalks and cause infrastructure damage, and that can be costly to repair. Um, uh, Another tree that you could replace a lot of the cherries with that does not have root conflicts because it's a very well-behaved root system for even very small strips would be like, say, for example, crepe myrtles that are summer flowering, so they do have benefits for pollinators in the summer months when there's very little else that's flowering. Butterflies and bees can be attracted to those trees in the summer months, and they do provide beauty. They also have fall color. They also have interesting ornamental bark. So they're very popular with people. They're planted a lot in hot climates like California and Texas in the south, where it gets a lot hotter typically. And as our climate, as we're seeing this summer, when we have these warm summers, they do very well in that heat. So looking for choices that are well behaved in the size of strip that you're going to plant them in, not cause the or at lower risk of infrastructure conflicts, and that will still be acceptable to homeowners for their ornamental value, would be priorities, I think, for the city. Now, one of the some of this work of looking at trees has been done by Oregon, and maybe Allison, this might be a great place to toss to you about something called the Oregon Resilient Tree List. And it's kind of daunting when you think about there are well over 1,000 species of trees that could grow in Western Oregon. Which ones would you want to be able to select from? And that's where maybe some of this research has been done by a combined effort of a lot of different parties. And Allison, I'll let you talk about that list, how it came about, and how they can access it there in Lebanon. And I'll take questions after Allison's had a chance to talk about the ORTL.
Great. Thanks, Jim. And hi, everyone in Lebanon. I got to come to y'all's Arbor Day celebration earlier this year and plant some trees in your community. And that was lovely. Thank you so much for having me for that event. So I am gonna share my screen. I'm not sure how it's gonna look for y'all. Oh, it looks like I don't have that option. So I'm gonna hit the little button that says send the request, and if that works out, then I will share my screen at some point.
I went ahead and hit allow, so you should be able to
Oh, okay.
now.
Oh,
I just
perfect.
take a
Look at that.
second.
That was like instantaneous. Yeah, that was excellent. Okay, let's see here. Are y'all seeing this big spreadsheet?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. So this is what we here at ODF call the Oregon Regional Resilient Tree List. um, it's a list, right? So it is intended to be a resource for tree selection. And our team at Oregon Department of Forestry, along with Oregon State University, and many other colleagues that we have consulted with and collaborated with, have been working on this list for about a year and a half now. We are going to publish it by the end of this year, but we are already sharing it out with communities, and I'm happy to send it y'all's way. I think I may have already sent it to Linda, but happy to send it to anyone else. And it's intended to be a resource for tree selection regionally. So you'll see that we kind of have these three different tabs here: Western Cascades, East of the Cascades, Southwest Oregon. Um, so in Lebanon, we would be in the Western Cascade tab. And I won't go, into every detail, but I'll just kind of give y'all the overview that the intention is that there's a lot of lists out there, right? Like your City of Lebanon has an approved list. We wanted to make this list with trees that, based on science and the tree's criteria, the tree's own, specifics, we believe them to be resilient in this region of the Western Cascades, in our changing climate, right? And what we mean by resilient is that we think that they can, continue to live for many years, despite the changing climate, despite, challenging free sites. In community spaces, there are a lot of infrastructure conflicts. There's heat island effects. There's, there's pests and pathogens, like Jim was mentioning. There's just a lot of challenges for trees. And, so we believe that if you plant these trees, they have a better chance of surviving. So just to share a little bit more, we've organized this currently by the tree family, the genus and the species, and the common name. The common name does have active links. So you'll see that for every tree listed there, we've linked to often the OSU landscape plants page, which gives more information about that species. Then we note whether or not the tree is native. This column here, talking about climate resilience, has to do with how the tree reacts in drought and its tolerance to drought. That's also noted here. We note the hardiness zone, and then some of the specifics, whether the tree is a broadleaf or conifer, deciduous or evergreen, all of the, height information, the width of the canopy, and I'll just scroll over. We also share about the shape of the tree, whether it's suitable along the coast, if it's power line friendly, the minimum planting area, like the soil volume that we suggest be available for this tree to survive well, whether or not it tolerates poor drainage, and whether it's suitable in medians, parking lots, or like right of ways, which can be more harsh environments, and often have low soil volume. So, it's a long list. I'll just kind of do a little bit of a slow scroll. But this was just intended just to give y'all an idea of one of the resources that our team is working on to support communities to be able to, select trees for your specific area that we think have a good chance of surviving in our current state.
And I'll just add to point out an example of what Allison was talking about on the Oregon Resilient Tree List. Allison, if you go back, you can see that there is one birch on the list, and that is because while there are many species of birch, which is in the Betula family, so it should be there. Okay, you can see that you might say, well, where are all the other birches? That's a river birch, but and what about these other birches? Well, bronze birch borer is a real problem in Oregon. It's causing a widespread mortality, a lot of dying paper birches and other birches. One of the birches is also invasive and is not recommended. So river birch, which is from the southeastern U.S., is from a climate that is much more has higher temperatures in the summer, which is what we're getting, and does not seem to be as prone to the bronze birch borer, at least at this time. So if someone was interested in saying, well, we like the form of the birch, we like the bark, this would be the choice we would recommend from this list, um, and not the other ones that have these other problems. So again, trying to minimize the problems, which also minimizes the cost of, for example, replacing a tree that might die in a few years if it gets bronze birch borer or succumbs to the climate. So that would be an example of the thought that went into the list. And I think the other thing to point out is not every tree on this list is going to be plantable anywhere in the city. Some of them are going to need to be carefully sited. Some would not tolerate full sun, so you wouldn't want to plant some of these. Like I saw the David maple would prefer much more of a shaded environment. So there is some care that needs to be thought out as to where exactly is the particular tree in its specific planting spot. Not only the width, but also the conditions of sun in particular can be problematic, especially on some of the thinner bark trees. So it's a list that generally these trees can be somewhere within Western Oregon. They could do well, provided they're given kind of the right conditions to grow in.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just add in that we have received feedback from other arborists and urban foresters and nursery growers, and so we're currently incorporating that feedback into this list. So if when I send this link out to you, if you look at it today and then next week you're like, wait, it changed, that's okay. It's still in draft form. Um, and for and we have focused on mostly species as opposed to like all the cultivars and varieties that are out there. And that's really just to make it more accessible. The moment tree lists are confined to specific cultivars and specific varieties, it can make procuring like getting those trees, just getting a hold of them from a nursery, it can make that a lot more challenging. So this isn't to say that we don't recommend a given cultivar of one of these tree species. It just means that we haven't listed out all of the cultivars, and we're also trying not to favor certain nurseries, because cultivars are proprietary. Um, they are proprietary. Yeah.
I kind of get the feeling that nobody really has this list yet. Is that right? I thought Linda's. So are you going to send that, or is that link going to be available to all of us? How's that going to work?
I will email it right now to Kiara and Linda. Those are the emails that I have, and ask y'all to send it on. Does that
Great,
work?
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
Allison,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
have it in my email, so I can just go ahead and I can send it to the group.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds great. And when you do that and you all receive or I guess I would say also please do share my email address. And if anyone on the committee has any follow-up questions, Jim is here today, like we said, representing Oregon Community Trees. And then Evan and I are we are assigned to your geographic area, and I for one had a great time coming to your community just for an afternoon. So reach out to us and we'll be happy to follow up with any information or resources that we can.
Okay, other questions from the committee? can I make a suggestion is that we look at that. I think it's probably time to update. We got a hold of some stuff from a neighboring city and kind of copied some of their stuff a couple years ago. But I don't think there's any the concerns that we would have are the same concerns that you have. Things like the right tree in the right place. We don't want to be messing with infrastructure and those kind of things and how we would do that. So maybe what I would suggest is we get that information at some point, maybe do a workshop for an hour and sit down and go, okay, so what do you think works for Lebanon and what can we do there? Does that sound like a reasonable way to approach it?
Yep.
Yeah. So anything else from you guys? We appreciate your coming and we recognize the problem. We got birch trees falling apart all over the place here in town. So we totally recognize some of the issues and some of the things that you guys are doing. So thank you. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just mention, I don't know, I didn't see a ton of ash coming into town, but I imagine that there are ash trees around, and just curious sort of about, the community's level of knowledge of emerald ash borer and interest in sort of additional information or trainings. I think, that coincides with the tree list to, remove any fraxinus species from the list if they're on there, so we're not planting new ash trees that are susceptible to emerald ash borer, but also getting community eyes out monitoring the ash trees that are here, and thinking about planning for its eventual arrival, and what the different options are in terms of either monitoring those trees and removing them when they get infested, or treating them if they're really nice large form trees that you don't want to lose. There's a really good treatment option. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there, a pin in the emerald ash borer conversation. And we have 2 emerald ash borer support specialists on our team. That's kind of what they focus on for a majority of their time. They're fantastic. And then Allison and I, as a part of our job, consult on emerald ash borer related topics, especially as it kind of wraps into other urban forestry arenas like tree lists or urban forest planning, or anything else. So yeah, we'd be thrilled to help with, as you work through your updates to your tree list. And again, open invitation for any other tree or urban forestry related topics, whether it's planting training for staff or the broader community, or emerald ash borer training, things like that. Please let Allison and me know, and we'd be thrilled to support.
We may at some point be interested in emerald ash borer. That's kind of in Jason's, you're the tree guy for the city, right? Sure. Closest thing we have.
You responsible for trees around town?
He's responsible for a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. The trees is one of the
Yep.
many things.
Mhm.
So.
Great. Well, I'll pass my card on to you, and then Sierra, you have Allison and my emails, I believe, as well. So anyone feel free to reach out.
At some point, we could conceivably do some educational stuff in the city too, because
Yeah.
people, it's going to get here. It's just not here yet.
It
So,
may not be here.
yeah, it may be here.
We're not able to monitor every tree. So the more folks we get trained up on, knowing the signs and symptoms, the more likely we are to find it as early as possible. So we'd be happy to come back for training for broad community, for public works staff, or the committee, or whomever is interested in.
I know that the master gardeners and the garden club are aware of the problem, but I don't know where the trees are. So I think that would be the first thing to do, is figure out where our ash trees are.
Mm-hmm.
That raises a question for you folks in Lebanon. Have you done, or is there an existing inventory of your public trees, your street and park trees? Or is that something that there's maybe interest in doing, based on your comment about maybe we should find out where ash trees are? It might be good to find out what all the trees you have are currently, because that could also
I know
inform.
we've started that process. Sierra has kind of spearheaded a lot of it. We started it along with some of the volunteers that we have in the community, but it's just in the very, very early stages. So of
Is
a
there-
tree inventory.
Is there grant monies for that kind of thing? Because I think that the city near here used a grant to do some of that.
There have been, we had several grant programs through Inflation Reduction Act funds. Those funds are all obligated right now, but we hope to continue to have small seed grants into the future to support work like tree inventory. In the meantime, what we can bring to bear we have a statewide inventory software platform that's free for communities to use. I'm not sure if you all are on that at this point or not. Tree plotter inventory, you're on it? Okay, great. So that's one thing. And then Allison and I can also come out and do tree inventory training. So that could include species ID and like a training on using the tool and then going out and, spending some time, whether it's with the committee or other volunteers, to kind of start to inventory trees. And you could, target ash trees specifically. So we could do a emerald ash borer training, focus on inventorying ash trees and doing kind of like an ash blitz around town to identify where they are and, which ones might be good ones to save and monitor. So just some ideas.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's good to have you guys for a resource, and Sarah and Jason are both, sounds like you're both working on that kind of stuff. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I got so excited about trees, I skipped a couple spots here, and I know Sierra's going, he skipped. We need to approve the minutes from the January 21st meeting. Yeah. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
And I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we caught up there. Got so excited. So, okay, city update. Jason, that's you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Got quite a big update today, so bear with me. It's that time of year. Crews are getting into full swing with the parks and the trail maintenance. We were a little behind, had a couple hiccups in staffing, getting some of our seasonals on. We had some people hired on that didn't seem to want to stick around. So we got some more hired on. We're almost up to full staff for seasonal workers, and then we got pretty busy getting things ready for Strawberry Festival and Parade. So a lot of my guys are busy doing that, but that's all taken care of. So parks, trail maintenance should be all taken care of coming up shortly. And the springtime was kind of that perfect storm of moisture and weather, and everything just took off all at once. It seemed like we were doing nothing but mowing and weed eating and taking care of vegetation. So hopefully if you guys see anything out there that you think we missed, feel free to let me or Sierra know, and we'll get on it. Cheetah Lake Park, upgrades are in full swing. They got the parking lot taken care of before festival. Some people weren't maybe the happiest about it, but it went through. Seemed like it worked pretty good. Knife River's back up to speed, working on infrastructure in the rest of the park. Hopefully have it wrapped up early fall. We're still kind of up in the air on the exact schedule. They have been good to work. They're working with us for some of the bigger annual events. Strawberry Festival, Civil War reenactment was out there. 4th of July, all these things. The Knife River's been really good to work with. They took the whole week off for Strawberry Festival, got all their stuff, cleaned up, put away. Same thing with Civil War. They took the time off to make that all happen. Tree plantings, we had the big event at Mark Slough, which turned out really well. I think saw quite a few of you guys out there. We also did tree plantings kind of in the city with, my staff. We got 30 trees right out here at Academy Square by the gazebo, spread out along the trails and paths in the park. 17 trees at Christopher Columbus, 19 trees out at Cheetah Lake in parts of the park that aren't being messed with the construction. BLT is helping us water a lot of the trees out at Mark Slough and some other ones that were put in at River Park. And then my staff are doing the rest that aren't in irrigated parks. So those seem to be working out pretty well. Seven Oak Middle School had their day of service May 29th. They had around 200 students out at various parks and city facilities with help from city staff. We had some police officers out at the Justice Center helping them, my staff out at some of the other parks. They pulled weeds, spread bark dust, picked up trash, general cleanup. And I think it was a really good event. It happened to be one day that it rained quite a bit. You can't pick the weather when you plan that far in advance, but they got a lot done, a lot accomplished for us to help us kind of get the season kicked off. So kind of the last thing I have in your packet on the last, I think it was the last page I added in at the end, is some rules, updated rules that we're planning on putting in for the dog park. So I had a citizen reach out asking about dog park specific rules that I guess it kind of fell through the cracks when that park got put in 7 years ago. We had rules kind of rough draft on the city's drive, but nothing ever got enacted. So we went through, did a little bit of updating on the rules, took some out that were already covered under general parks rules, changed a little bit of stuff. And this is kind of what we decided on for what we were going to put into effect for dog park specific rules. If you guys look it over, if you see anything that you have questions about or anything that you think maybe we should add or more clarification on, let me know. But we wanted to get something out there just so people kind of had we haven't had very many issues, but we want to kind of have it out there and ready for if we do have issues that we can get them enforced. So
Yeah, this did come to council at last council meeting.
Yeah.
I think that prompted it. Thanks for getting on it so fast.
yeah, I think it was
Appreciate
prompted.
that.
I think it was prompted a little before that, and I had talked to Ron because I wasn't sure if it had to go to council, but he said as long as it's rules under existing park stuff,
No,
we can
yeah.
just kind of enact it. So
Yeah.
I've been working with Ron and Julie to kind of get these going, but we wanted to bring it in front of you guys in case you had any input on it. But I think
Appreciate it.
I think we covered a lot of it, but if, like I say, if you guys have any input, please reach out, let me know. And we're going to try to get that in there fairly soon, get some signs made out there so that people are aware. So anybody have any questions on any of the update stuff or?
No excessive barking or noise. That one's going to be hard to enforce. I mean, you put it on a sign and hopefully
I mean,
it does.
I think it would kind of go hand in hand with the ordinance we already have about excessive barking for your dog at your house.
Okay.
I may have to look into that a little bit and maybe run it by either code enforcement or, even city's attorney to see exactly what we can do there.
I don't have a problem with it. I just
Yeah,
that one
well,
is
I
a
mean,
question mark.
At least what came up to council more, but the important part they want is they didn't want their little dog in with the bigger dog.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to weigh the dogs. You're going to tell them 25 pounds. You're not going to be out there weighing them.
That's what I was
what's
talking.
excessive is going to be kind of,
Yeah.
up to each person, but at least it's out there. Hey, if
And
your
that's what I
dog's
was
barking
talking to Rick
nonstop.
about. I said, none of my guys, and I doubt code enforcement's going to carry a scale out there and weigh your dog. And if it's 27 pounds, they're going to throw it over the fence.
And there could be a 24-pound dog that's a lot tougher than a 27-pound dog.
I think that was the catalyst when I talked to
That's what the lady at
citizen
council was concerned about.
and kind of talked it through with her, and I think we came to a pretty good conclusion for her. So yeah.
So Cindy, how did the improvements were? I heard you laugh at paving, so I want to hear what that was all about.
Oh boy, really gonna ask that question. Okay, so the parking lot has curbs all the way around it. And with the use of the park the way we've used it over the years and the way that events such as ours would use it, they create a huge trip hazard because people are walking from back and forth and tripping over them. And then there was some concrete bumpers that we did not expect that that had to be driven around, that became obstacles. So it kind of, and the parking area is 2 feet higher than the rest of the park. So it's just kind of a weird hazard. And I don't know, I assume they're going to kind of fix that a little bit, that gravel. Is it going to stay gravel? Because if you're on the walking path, you walk up a hill to get into the parking lot.
So the grade change was all based off of getting the right drainage slope to drain everything back to
Wondered if that was
the
part of it.
designed stormwater collection, system that was designed for it. When you put it down on paper, when you design something like that, especially how we had it designed, there wasn't a huge design phase, I guess, with, going out and getting all the grades and everything. So it was kind of, I don't really want to say shoot from the hip, but, they're kind of designing it on the fly as they're out there. So I get through the whole process, we have our engineering inspectors and project managers out there on a daily basis, and I would go out there every once in a while to meet with them and look over things. And when they're putting in some of this infrastructure before they pave, it's all pretty high up in the air, and you start wondering how it's all going to work out. And I don't know right offhand how much it's going to change as far as getting the grades to match up right at the moment, but I would imagine eventually it will all kind of fall into place. As far as the curbs around it, it's also the design to keep the stormwater inside of the parking lot instead of running off all the edges and then having to collect it all the way around. So they're trying to collect it into, central catch basins, or, a central kind of valley in the middle to a catch basin, to then take it to the rainwater collection area for dispersion. So,
And the curb and gutter system would be required by city code, I assume. too.
yes,
Yeah. And
that's-
you can't not do it yourself and make
Yeah,
everybody else do it.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh, no,
problem.
And
and I get that. It just was unexpected and
Yeah.
created a little bit of an issue, but
Similar
we
to-
survived.
yeah, similar to how we have a nice sidewalk in front of our area on that street, and then there's nothing on either of the other ends. It's kind of sidewalk to nowhere. But
Yeah, it does
If
go.
we're
It's just a
gonna-
sidewalk to nowhere.
if we're gonna, make everybody else put in their sidewalks to nowhere, we have to do the same for ourselves.
And it's
So,
beautiful. It looks great, and it's nice, and the fence is great in the front, and they did a great job. Are they doing the bathroom next? What's the next part of the face?
They're working on all the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is going to go back to the bathroom, as far as sewer lines, water lines. And then they're going to start working on the infrastructure to head back to the stage area. They're kind of doing that all at once through that side of the
So are
park.
they putting curbs and stuff on the driveway that goes all the way back to the back?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know we aren't paving it. I don't believe we're doing the curbs until the pavement. I think they're just doing all the kind of prep work for it, and then seeing where we're kind of at with budget.
Got it.
So the bathroom, last I knew, is going to be delivered probably mid-July. So maybe about a month from now, or at the end of July. So all the infrastructure's trying to get put in for that.
It's an interesting process. They pick it up with a crane and set it in place.
Yeah, this one it'll actually be two pieces, since it's the larger bathroom would be
Double
similar.
wide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It'll be similar in size to the one at Century Park and River Park. So it'll have kind of 3 stalls on each side, men's and women. So
Awesome.
pretty nice bathroom.
Very cool.
Any more questions on the city update? I think we're very fortunate to have gotten the money to do anything there.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some things
Oh
come up,
yeah,
I'm sure.
it's beautiful. It's just it was shocking.
it's
That
some-
was all.
There'll definitely be some growing pains with your guys' event and other events, to kind of see how the park flushes out, and then how to utilize it versus what we had there.
Yeah, because the
So,
access is way different
yes.
than it used to be. I think that was kind of the challenge, or the part that we noticed the most, is how different the access was.
Yeah. So
Which, you grow and learn as it grows.
yeah,
So.
and I think it'll be good for other events, to have that paved parking and striped out parking, and be able to utilize that.
And is there a plan in the near future, or somewhat near future, to remove all the dead trees that are out there?
Yes.
Is that part of this next? Okay, I thought it was, but
We kind
because
of
there is a lot of trees that are dying quick out
Yes,
there.
we kind of didn't want to do that before we knew where things were going, and
Yeah.
take
No,
out,
I get it.
trees that didn't need to be there, and so, but yes, that is in the works.
Perfect. Any other questions from the committee?
I noticed that there was like contractor stakes and flags on the back side. Um, you know, is there plans for another
So like by the large,
by the lake?
like by the large berm, kind of? Yeah, so that'll be, there'll be an access road from the west, like the near, the most westerly entrance.
Okay.
All the way back. That berm's gonna be taken out and flattened, and then like a gravel pad with power, water, and things like that to eventually have a built-in stage. But in the meantime, it'll be a good area to put a portable stage. So it'll have more of the infrastructure there to have, you know, concerts, things like that. And then the plan eventually is to put a full-blown built-in stage. We just didn't have the funds.
Okay.
So we thought we had plenty of money, and then estimates came back and things cost a lot more than we thought they did.
It's crazy.
So we had to kind of pare it down and try to get the best bang for our buck with the money we had, and I think we did. It's going to be one of those things when you walk out there and you know how much money we spent, and you're going to look at it and go, where did it all go? And you're going to go, it's all in the ground. So yes,
and that is a good role for this committee, because people will ask, you know, will ask, well, where did all this money go? Well, it's there. I mean, it just costs so much.
I mean, I don't know right offhand, but it was a crazy amount of rock that had to be brought in to bring grade up.
So much rock got taken. It was crazy.
It was, I don't, like I said, I know Scott Jones, our inspector out there, told me at one point what they'd brought in. I might be wrong. I don't even know if I want it. I think maybe 400,000 cubic feet, or I don't even know. It was, he told me, and I said, whoa, yeah, it's a lot. So, and like Cindy said, it's there. If I don't know if all of you have been out there and seen the new parking lot, but the grade difference is amazing when you stand there and go a lot higher off the ground. So, and a lot of people were worried that the asphalt wasn't going to hold up under the carnival rides.
It's got a few little spots.
It's got a few little spots, but it held up a lot better than a lot of people thought.
A little bit better than I thought.
Everybody at Knife River assured us it would be fine, and that's what they do. That's what they know.
There was a couple rides that we had to shut down because they weren't doing well on it, but overall it was fine.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, next thing is BLT bench policy. Are you doing that piece of it? Okay, and then she has a BLT report as well.
Okay. I guess the easiest thing is to read the bench policy, what BLT has proposed anyway. This all kind of started a revision of it because somebody wanted to put a QR code on one of their benches, and we just didn't, it was like an advertisement QR code, and we didn't think that was appropriate. Plus, we were approached by putting a sign, like suicide prevention sign, on the trail, and we just don't want to get into that part of it. So that's why we came up with the bench policy, and I think the city has looked it over. I don't know if you want me to read it or just look what it has. Do you have one? Okay, so just look what it says, and if you have something input, Jason, the city?
Yeah, so you sent this out to us. I went over it with Jason Williams, Public Works Director, and we're under the consensus that the city is good with this policy, and we're going to mirror something similar as a city policy so that we're kind of all on the same page. We don't want the benches to be, taken over with, advertisements, QR codes, things like that.
It shows, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, and even the top part about, things being on there for, a certain amount of time, Memorial Day, birthdays, things like that is good with us.
Okay.
We don't want things to be.
The only suggestion that I have that might consider is, and this is totally from a design standpoint, so you can totally ignore me. But if you put a regulation on so many lines of text or certain fonts so that they all kind of match, because I mean, they're going to get, if they're doing whatever they want to do on those, then if you kind of put some regulations on that, then at least they kind of look like they're all cohesive and the same.
Yeah, we have little plaques on each of the the benches, and they go before someone before they're ordered. So
Yeah.
it's probably already loosey-goosey
Yeah.
in place.
They don't get to choose the font, right?
No, I think it's a given.
I do agree that limiting the number of lines might be a good idea, but I think they're already.
Yeah, I don't think any are stick out.
And,
like
and maybe
they're
it's
too
not a
busy.
problem, but if you have it
Yeah.
written somewhere in a policy, then at least you can refer
Right.
back to it when someone says, I want a whole bunch of information. Like, well, that doesn't
Yeah, I
adhere to our
want 20
policy.
lines. It isn't that big of a,
Oh, trust me, people will put a lot of stuff on a little bit of space.
you know best, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. So go ahead and tweak it, Jason, and, yeah, okay, sounds good, thank you. So I'm kind of a fast talker, so I'll give a little,
Okay. You got
little,
plenty of time.
little bit of a update. Welcome, Brian, to this committee. It's kind of fun. It's not too serious. It's what we like. And thanks, Cindy, for all your input on the Cheetah Lake Park process, because you have a lot of insight to that, and I always appreciate what you have to say. Maybe the city doesn't, right? But and it does look, the parking lot, I was impressed. It looks very nice. Also, thanks to the city for participating in our tree planting out at Mark Slough, because BLT was highly involved in that. And I know that's been kind of a thorn, because you had X number of days to get all those trees planted, and it was a ridiculous request. And we all felt sorry for you. Yeah, you pulled through, you got them done. The good thing, when you accept a grant, and it was too good to be true, it probably, in a way, it was too good to be true, but you did get a watering tank out of it, and that was a positive thing. And now we have lots of trees, and it was stressful at the time, but and BLT, thanks to the bucket brigade, as they're called, that they are watering the trees every Thursday morning. So if you want to get your workout, just go help them water trees. So I want to give an update on the Mill Race Trail that's going to be from the new loop trail in River Park over to the old Woods Trailer Park or Santiam Street, Isabella. And finally, after several rejections, potential rejections, we've given Breezy Concrete the bid, and Armstrong is going to start excavating on July 8th. So we're really excited about that. The bridge has been paid for. They're now painting it and putting some, what do you call them? Railing on the sides, yeah. And it's also going to have lights and a fence along the way. So, and we have some very, very, astronomical donors that have made this possible. So it is all paid for at this time. So we're excited about that. I think it's going to be a real addition to the trail system, because it's going to put the north end of the town way to Wyrick Drive, and that's exciting in itself. We put up 3 trail signs in River Park, and they were paid for by BLT, and thanks to the city. You're so good when we ask something. You just are there and put up the 3 signs. Another thing we've had, graffiti. We went 3 months without graffiti this winter. So I don't know, all the artists must have left town for a period of time. We had 4 in April. The worst one, and I'm going to pass this around. I'll show it to you first. Someone called me, I was at the coast, and they said that there were all these branches piled up on a tree on the Old Mill Trail. And I thought, oh yeah, a few branches piled on a tree. Look at Rod in that picture. That's how much branches were piled up on this poor tree. And they, well, I put Rod with an arrow. So Rod and Raylene, I know it. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I couldn't believe when Raylene sent me that picture of how big that was. And they took the branches off and they threw them in, you know, in some of the bushes along the way, but there were a few that they couldn't even throw. So whoever did those had to be very strong to put all those branches up, right, Rod? And somebody had to be very strong to take them down? Yeah. We also had 4 in April graffitis. We try to get on them for new people. We try to get on them within 24 hours. So if you ever see any graffiti on the trails, either on the concrete or asphalt or on any of our benches or signs, let us know right away because we like to get to it within 24 hours. And there's about 5 of us that have bags that the city's given us, that Mostenbachers or whatever it's called. And we have alcohol and soda and the Boston-Bachers, and sometimes we have to use a wire brush, which we don't like to, but sometimes in the concrete it's so embedded we have to get on our hands and knees and do that. We also had at our recognition plaza on the Old Mill Trail, there was 2 cuts on one of the benches. And fortunately, Thad had a replacement that he put on there. Yeah, I don't know. They had to spend quite a bit of time because those are pretty hard benches. So Thad replaced that board. So other than that, we keep busy and thanks to the city for being real cooperative and helping us out and giving us all the Mostenbachers we want. So, any questions?
What is the city or this committee's opinion on e-bikes down there?
They're okay. I think there's a mile per hour we don't like them to go above.
Oh, okay,
And I can't remember, it might say on one of those kiosks.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, skateboards, bicycles, no motorcycles.
But some of the e-bikes are almost motorcycles.
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
That's a citywide issue.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's just, I see a lot of the ones that don't need to be pedaled down there,
Oh,
and they're basically motorcycles
Yeah.
without a gas motor. They're a
yeah, maybe it's something the city needs to address. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the ordinance reads, but yeah, it may be something that needs to be brought up, but that would be probably
Like,
more.
I've been concerned about that just around town because
Yeah.
I think they're working on standards. If it goes over a certain amount of miles an hour, you're supposed to have a helmet. Nobody pays attention to that.
Yeah.
There's people on the sidewalks on them going 30 miles an hour with no helmet on. So that's something that I think that needs to be covered.
Yeah.
By the city.
Dave, has something come up at the council level yet about the kid at Christopher Columbus Park?
No,
Because I actually happened to see him one time, and I don't know what's going on there, but that's floating out
Yes,
there.
I stumble into the buzz once in a while, and you can hear all the bad stuff on there. Yeah, that's all part of I think what we have to address with it because it's a new technology. A 10-year-old kid can get on one of those and go 30 miles an hour and terrorize people. Let's face it, they can't do that on their Schwinn. I mean, they can, but they're more likely to hurt themselves than anybody else. But that's an issue that I'll bring up at the next council.
It's going to come up, yeah. So, okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Thank you. Public comments. I'm looking for there's one public. Is there any public comments today? Any public comments? Nope. Okay. Any comments from the commission? We'll start with Linda. Anything else?
Do we want to set a date and time for a meeting about trees, street trees?
It is definitely something that should probably happen. My guess is that Sierra and Jason are slammed until fall. Do we want to try to come up with something you want to try to come up with something in the fall? Because I know it's just easier then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, or it says our next meeting is September. Can we have an additional meeting like in October and deal with it at a normal meeting time?
Yeah. Or we could even have it. Yeah.
Or extend that meeting.
And just, have like kind of a work session before or after.
I'm fine with either one of those options.
I got to turn this on first before I talk.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Either one of those options is fine.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, thank you.
Dave, you got anything?
I just wonder if there's any issues or concerns to the council other than the ones we've talked about that I could address for anybody or bring to the council.
You know, I know we have a really hard time getting people on this committee, apparently, because we haven't, nobody's accepted. The other one was, what was her name, Ann?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, and this is kind of a two-way thing. You know, if you have property in the city, you can get a library card. But you cannot be on any of these committees if you don't live within the city. And I don't know if there's a way, I know this has been brought up before, of having it extend to maybe a 97355 zip code that people can be on the committee. I don't know, what are your thoughts? I don't really have a thought.
Yeah, I believe we did change yeah, within Lebanon.
But it's not in the zip code, it's within Lebanon.
No, I believe it doesn't, it's not within the city
Doesn't
limits.
specify city
Yeah,
limits.
it doesn't specify city limits. So it's, as long as you have like a Lebanon zip code, a Lebanon address.
Lebanon address.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So I
because
think
that was
we-
an issue a while
Yeah, we did
back.
have somebody apply. Yeah, and they were out more toward like the Waterloo or Sodaville area. So yeah, we had went over that, and I believe it got changed. Well, I'd have to look at the exactly what it says, but it does read differently than like the city council per se. You know, you don't have to actually live in the city limits, I don't believe.
So we have one opening now?
Yes.
And I will say that I think the majority of our committees, Dave might correct me kind of more, but I think we have vacancies on most of our additional committees, like our senior advisory committee, all of those. It's just kind of hard to find people that want to volunteer their time, especially when we do have our meetings in the middle of the day, during the work week. So thankfully, we got one applicant, you know, in. I think it's great, but yeah, I understand what you mean.
Brian, you got anything?
One of my neighbors, he has a teenage son, and when he found out I was going to be on it, the son asked if there was any opportunity to put a pump track, and that's where the kids go on a pump, and he asked if they could put it down where the Eagle Scout Trail comes out behind like Mayfly Street, you know, in that big open field right there that's not being used for anything right now.
So I know Parks budget, we've used a good majority of like the CIP budget and stuff like that for the Cheetah Lake project. And it usually, and you can ask Rod or Jan, what it comes down to is we can get grants for a lot of these things to build them. It's the big problem is maintaining them. So the way that some of the funds work is you can use these funds to build a park and do upgrades to a park, but you can't use the funds to maintain a park. And right now, my parks department is 2 full-time employees, and we have over 200 acres of park space that we maintain. So anything that we look at putting in, we have to look in the future, are we going to have the resources to maintain it? So it's definitely something we could look at, but I would say it would be a steep mountain to climb to get anything like that, considering we have play structures, sports courts that need attention. So anything new that would come in would have to be a community,
Yeah, the theme kind of on that from my field, because somebody came to us with that, council with that, and with the pickleball, it's got to be somebody not only who puts it in, but who wants to be involved after it's there. And they have to be a big enough entity that they understand what they're getting into and that they can maintain it.
Yeah.
Just putting it there as a footprint and.
A perfect example is BLT.
Yeah,
I mean,
perfect example.
they've
Yeah.
given us a lot. I mean,
Still there afterwards.
and they're still there. They're, watering trees, helping with graffiti, helping with all the maintenance. So I know a lot of people mean well when it's like, oh, we could do this and we could get a grant, but the grants are great for getting things installed. And my job, the biggest part of my job is making sure that it's good for the community for years to come. So, like I said, it's definitely something we could look into. At that spot, I believe what you're talking about is Riverview Park.
Riverview Park.
And I don't know if you've ever been down there in the wintertime, so I don't know, anything you put in would have to be able to
Take water.
Yeah, take water. So that's why it's not used for anything. So we don't have any infrastructure in there. Linda and the garden club have actually helped try to stop the erosion with putting in some native plants and things like that. And that's a tough spot to do anything with, considering, you know, a couple months out of the year it's underwater, threat of underwater. So it's a kind of a tough area to deal with, but in the summertime, it's a great area to go hang out with your family. So, but yeah, it's something we could definitely, you know, look into. And
And I realize that maintenance would be a huge
yeah,
part of it.
that would be and that's usually the limiting factor on most anything we look at going in the parks, is how much is maintenance going to cost. Because it's great to have something, but you want to have it for years to come for the community, versus having something great for a couple of years and then not being able to fix it, maintain it, or it gets into disrepair and then we have to shut it down. So, but yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cindy? I don't have anything. City staff, anything else we need to know?
Don't believe so.
Okay, so we will adjourn, and our next meeting will be September 16th from 2 to 3, and then we'll look at some other opportunities